Hello everyone, we're back here with some new classical game against Mr. Belafonte. We have a C3 Sicilian, the so-called Alapin Sicilian, but the game might transpose now into a French defense if I choose to play the move e5. But I don't usually play the system with e5 as white, so I will take on d5 at this point. Black will probably take with a pawn. Yes, but now we are about to get a position with the isolated pawn for black. This is not necessarily a very bad thing for him. He will get some activity for it. So to take on c5 immediately doesn't make too much sense because I only help him to develop his bishop. So putting the bishop on d3 or b5 makes sense. Let's go for bishop d3. It's a kind of a nice active square. c4, okay, I don't bother too much about this move because I can still go bishop c2 and keep the pressure over the long diagonal. Let's castle. And now I would like to make a nice prophylactic move because black has no possibility to develop his bishop on f5. His only good developing move is bishop g4, so I'll play h3 just to avoid it. And now this bishop on c8, I would say, has no comfortable square to be developed to, which is nice for me. Knight c6, okay. Now my bishops aim towards the king side. This is why I think I would try and concentrate my forces there. First of all, let me put my rook on the open file. Seems like a logical idea. The next piece which I would like to develop is this knight on b1, maybe via d2. Should I first... I don't see a reason to develop my bishop on c1 just yet because I still don't know where I want it to be, so let's develop the knight first. So if I can, I would like to get it closer to the king side, maybe perhaps via g3 or even e3. Okay, so now he played b5. He wants to initiate some play on the queen side. I'm not particularly afraid of this, so I might as well just allow him to do so. Now I've got two ideas in mind. So one of them is just to keep my normal plan of knight f1, following by maneuvering my knight towards the king side. Another thing I can try is to play the move knight to e5 and try to post the other knight on f3. I'm not sure. Let's go with knight f1, kind of more topical move. So my next move is going to be something like knight g3. Perhaps knight f5 later on would be a nice square for my knight. I kind of like my position here. Black does have some space advantage on the queen side. He might be thinking about pushing his pawns on this side of the board. But once again, my position is very solid on the queen side. I don't see too much danger coming from there. And once again, I think the position would be quite fine for black if he would be able to exchange this pair of bishops and then he would be in a fine position, but this bishop on c8 is quite passively placed in comparison with my bishop on c2. Also, this bishop on e7 is not an amazing piece. It would rather be on d6 perhaps. So now my opponent taking some time to think, which it's quite understandable. I don't think black has any easy times making moves in this position. a5, okay, just continuing with the plan, I shall do the same. So from g3 my knight is quite flexible. f5 is one possible idea, but I might also wait for the right moment to jump to h5 if I manage to drive away this knight from f6. This is probably even a more aggressive idea. Now I want to go with this move. So I don't mind exchanging the knights, because if he takes, I will take with the pawn. I will force his knight to move out of f6, and once this knight is gone, then all of those knight h5 ideas might come into life. Once again, you might notice that black's play on the queen side is much less threatening, in my opinion at least, from white's play on the king side. I'm already concentrated my pieces, I believe, quite well on this side of the board. The queen also might join the action via f3 at some point, or if the knight is moving out of f6, I might even think about more aggressive squares. Now he played the move bishop b7. I must say I'm surprised, because this allows my knight to land on f5 without any resistance. So let's play this move. This seems like a nice move to make. This knight is extremely well placed, making pressure on this bishop, on this pawn, and also on this pawn. So at this position already I have some ideas in mind of sacrificing some pieces against the king in order to initiate some attack. I really think the move bishop b7 was incorrect. I think black lacks some protection on this king side. He needs to have some more pieces there protecting his king. So my immediate threat is to take on c6, followed by knight takes e7, which would gain material, actually quite a lot of material. So black really needs to make a very delicate decision here. If he goes in the wrong direction, he might lose very quickly. But I believe that nevertheless, white has a very promising position at this point. Let's see where black decides to take his game. Perhaps rook e8 he wants to play in order to protect his bishop and to develop his rook into the game. Okay, he decided to take the knight. Now actually I think both of these captures are quite strong, but I particularly like this capture because this forces his knight once again out of f6, and once this knight is gone, the queen will be able to develop into very aggressive squares on the king side. I would go as far as saying that white is perhaps almost winning in this position. The knight on f5 is just too strong to handle with the combination of these two strong bishops on c2 and c1. Probably is going to play knight to e4, at least to try to block this bishop, but he's not doing so, which I'm quite surprised by. Knight h7 seems awfully passive, so the obvious thing would be to develop my queen on g4. I don't really see why not to do it, so let's go with it. The threat is obviously checkmate in one move. If he moves his pawn to g6, then the pawn on h6 would fall very quickly. The only thing he might try to do is to block my attack via the g5 square, but this is only temporary because I can always drive away any piece which will come on g5 with the easy move f4. So I think now there is no doubt that black is completely losing here. I think his main mistakes was perhaps the 14th move, bishop to b7, was quite a critical mistake, I believe, allowing this knight on f5. Just look how strong this knight is positioned on f5. I think my whole attack is mainly based on this knight on f5 and the pressure he is making against all of those weak squares in the black's position. Yeah, so black resigned at this point. This is move number 17, even before anything happened. Let's take a quick look with the engine. So you can see that the final position is evaluated as plus 4.5 advantage. So almost a rook worth of advantage. I think, yeah, at this point, after 95, I think my position is already quite strong, but I think bishop e7, you see suddenly the evaluation goes up to being plus 3.6. You should have preferred this difficult move to see a rook to a6. But yeah, this is my planned move, queen to f3, after which I really like my position. I have those ideas of knight f5, but at least in this case the bishop is covering this diagonal, which means that my attack is not so smooth as it was in the game. Anyway, thank you for watching this game. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like the content on this channel, please don't forget to leave some comments, maybe to subscribe, and of course, if you have some suggestions, some ideas, you might share it in the comments. So hope you enjoyed watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.